Thank you all for joining this afternoon for our graduate education programs session. We are pleased to have everyone joining us from our different graduate education programs. Myself, Diana Jingles, I am Director of Graduate Admission, and Daniela Volkvinsky will be introducing herself as well. Today, we have a number of different items that we'd like to get through. Particularly, our focus today is on students who are current undergraduate education majors and will be recent education graduates. Really understanding the different pathways they have to some of the different graduate education programs that are offered at Providence College. And with that, I'll let Daniela explain the agenda and schedule for today.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. So my name is Daniela Volkovinsky. I'm Assistant Director for Graduate Admission. And as you can see, we have an agenda for today. So we're going to do some introductions, talk about kind of what the session's about. We're going to do an overview of the programs that will be covered in the session. We will also be doing a roundtable discussion, which we're really excited about, where the program directors will actually get to speak to you about some of the really interesting aspects and highlights from each of their programs. So that's going to be great. And then we're going to talk about some application information, tips for applying, website resources, and then of course we'll leave a Q&A time for the end. And I know some of you submitted questions, and so that's great. We will also go through those during that Q&A portion.
One thing as well, as students have questions throughout the session, please also feel free to use the Q&A function to this webinar, and we will either be able to answer that question throughout the course of our discussion, or at the end we can also address some of those questions. So if you're thinking of something and you want to jot that down, put it in the Q&A. This way it will prompt other folks to add questions as well, and we're happy to get to those throughout the course of today's discussion. But beyond that, again, we wanted to welcome everyone and also share the different graduate education programs that we have available to our students. We grouped these program directors and programs together as a way to allow students to understand some of the different pathways that they will have access to. So without further ado, we'd like to have everyone introduce themselves, and we will also be having everyone explain a little bit about their program. So today joining us with our school counseling program, Dr. Naylor, Dr. Pisano from Literacy and Reading, and then also from Special Education is Marcy Zipke, Kevin O'Connor, and Nuria Alonso Garcia. So with that, we'll take it away for giving a brief description, introduction for each of your programs. Dr. Naylor, would you like to begin? Oh, hang on just a second.
Sorry, I can start again. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming. I had myself on mute. The school counseling program is not limited to people who are in education. So if you don't have an education background, or somebody who might be interested who doesn't, that is no longer a limitation for us. So anyone who has a bachelor's degree can apply for the master's degree in school counseling. We have a 42 credit program. The final two are internships, 150 hours in each of the 2 semesters of internship that are the culminating experience in the program. Those are hours that are spent in a school under the supervision of a school counselor. Each of the, I might be getting away ahead of myself, so that's that. You can go on to someone else, Diana.
Perfect. Kevin, would you like to take it away now?
I will, and also welcome everyone. So it's written right in front of you what we do. So the higher education program is preparing folks to go out there and work in college university settings in student as well as academic affairs kind of positions. Think academic advising, international student services, orientations, accessibility services, admissions. Um, so we have a robust core that prepares you generally for the work that you will do across various domains. We do have a field experience expectation. We have a full year of practicum internship. That's defined as 150 hours per semester. And the rest of that would be electives of your choosing. So it's a fun program. We have about 50 people, more or less, chipping away at the program. That doesn't mean full time. We have some folks just taking one class who might be actually working at the institution. And then we have others who are full time and everything in between. So that's us in a nutshell. It is fall now, right? I could say that.
Yes.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you. And Nuria, would you like to explain?
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, everybody. And the Urban Teaching graduate program really focuses on, culturally responsive pedagogies and looking into ways in which educators can connect with diverse students within the classroom, culturally diverse, linguistically diverse. So it is a very intimate program in the sense that we really look into what diversity means at different levels within the classroom and beyond, and also work on the building partnerships with community stakeholders. So the community engagement piece is also very crucial within the program. We have partnered with nonprofit organizations in Providence, with PBS, and we often have those community partners being part of our course facilitation. The program is composed of 10 courses. 5 of them are core courses around, as I mentioned, culturally responsive teaching, differentiating instruction. There is an engaged research seminar, trauma-informed education, and some linguistics-based courses that are oriented to ESOL. The program can be combined with the newly approved by RIDE of ESOL certification, is English to speaker of other languages. And those who are interested in this area of urban education and do not have a teacher certification could opt for the combined program of TCP, Teacher Certification Program, and Urban Teaching, obtaining the master's as well by completing the 5 core courses. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Beverly Paisano, and I direct the graduate program in literacy and the graduate program in reading. So just a little bit about each one. So the literacy program prepares already certified teachers for additional certification as pre-K to 12 reading specialists. It's a 36 credit hour program with 300 hours of field internship experience built in to the program, built into the courses. So you don't actually add on that time, but it's part of the course time. The reading program is designed for classroom teachers who are not interested in pre-K to 12 reading specialist certification, but who would like to be more informed and more capable reading teachers in their classroom. And this program allows you to choose a grade level focus. Rather than pre-K to 12, you would choose either elementary or middle secondary. And that accounts for the fewer credits in part. Also, in place of 2 other courses that are really for reading specialist certification, this reading program allows you to select 2 electives in related fields, maybe in some of these other wonderful programs that you're hearing about today. So for now, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Beverly. Kind of had double duty there. Appreciate it. Terrific. And turning it over to Marcy.
Hi, I'm Marcy Zipke. I'm the director of the Masters in Special Ed program. We are also literacy focused, but specifically on dyslexia. So the students in the M.Ed Special Ed do a practicum with the Wilson Reading Program. That's the dyslexia credential that's mentioned there. We're not a state certification program. So we're looking for people who are currently teachers who are interested specifically in helping their students who are struggling to read, especially older students. I assume we should go more into like details about the programs later, huh, Diana?
Yeah, absolutely. And we will. I mean, some of the questions that we have in our roundtable discussion, this is where we'd really like to learn more about some of the similarities and differences between a lot of these programs and some of the different pathways that students have. So with that, we can actually lead into our roundtable discussion. And one of the first questions that we have is just asking what types of jobs or career roles do graduates from this program typically land after graduation? So, Nuria and Beverly, if you'd like to start off this discussion explaining some of the different pathways unique to urban teaching, unique to literacy and reading. Marcy, I think this would be helpful as well to then hear some of the opportunities and pathways that students have as a result of your program.
Nuria, should I begin? So for the readings, for the literacy program for certification as a reading specialist, students who are right out of undergraduate education school need 3 years, well, everyone needs 3 years of classroom teaching experience in order to be certified as a reading specialist. So most, if not all, of the students who come right out of college undergraduate programs will take a classroom position. And the program that they just completed, they will get certified in after 3 years if they so choose. But the work that they've done in the literacy program makes them generally, they tell me, more confident teachers and more capable and, as classroom teachers. Whatever they've learned in the literacy program, they apply in their classroom every single day. For the reading specialist program, classroom teachers will remain in the classroom and become hopefully stronger, more confident classroom teachers.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. And from the urban teaching perspective, most candidates upon graduation also remained in their classrooms. 80% of the candidates have already, have a certification, and they really are mostly interested in working with diverse population of students. So they often are or opt to be in areas where they work with multilingual learners, where they, really can just kind of connect with the students from a more, in-depth level of understanding of the culture and the community. Some of the students are also gone into the nonprofit sector and worked in organizations with like youth, focusing on the arts, focusing even on youth-free integration after, some after school programs. So there's a variety of paths that urban teaching candidates have opted for, but mainly classroom, teaching.
Great, thank you. Marcy?
So yeah, most of the graduates in the past few years from the Masters in Special Ed have ended up in either a general ed classroom or a special ed classroom. Some were already teachers and have chosen to do this program so that they would know more about how to help their, neediest readers. And some were recent grads from our undergraduate program who went on to do the master's program in order to, again, like be able to better help students that they'll encounter in any classroom, in a special ed or a general ed classroom. There also was quite a spirited discussion one night about side hustle as a tutor, and how well prepared they were to do that since they'd been working one-on-one with all the Wilson materials and they could recycle those with other students. But yeah, mostly teaching in the classroom.
Terrific, absolutely. And Kevin and Pat, if you would share some of the different options and areas where you're seeing students go off and what they are specifically noting about your program that is assisted in that pathway.
I'll go, Pat, if you want. Well, I'm just taking it. I'm going. So as I think back, I just started making a little list while I was listening to everyone. I think our students, they occupy a lot of positions in colleges, universities, up and down from community colleges to four-year level one research institutions and institutions like Providence College. So in the last 2 years, I have someone who is now working in accessibility, disability services, admissions, academic advising, both regular advising where the regular student population is, and we also have a decent amount of folks who go into student athlete advising, residence life. You even have someone in Greek life, working in Greek life, student life roles. We have, because we have a sports certificate embedded within our program, it's a 3-course sequence students can take as part of their electives. We do have a number of students go into sports positions at colleges and universities. Those could be coaching positions, assistant, head. We also have folks who are maybe in media services at higher ed institutions. And we also have a couple people who will go on to graduate school. I'm speaking with some folks now about pursuing their doctorates after they leave us. And we also have a few people who do not take up residence in a college or university, but maybe are at the pre-college university kind of position, doing some early advising of students before they even arrive on campus. So that's kind of where our students go. I think our internship really helps prepare them. Many of these people get positions after they do a year of internship somewhere. That happens quite often. They'll go over either on campus or at another institution where we might send them. They get a year of training, and because they're so wonderful, they get gobbled up. So that's always nice and comforting to us. But that's it.
Definitely.
Okay, I can take it from there. So in school counseling, we prepare our students to become school counselors. So for the most part, our graduates pursue a position as a school counselor and generally successful in finding one. However, that said, the certification in Rhode Island and pretty much throughout the country is pre-K to 12. So often we'll have students who come into our program saying, I know I want to be a high school counselor. And we require, I mentioned earlier that there's 150 hours of internship in each of the fall and spring semester, the final 2 courses. 25 of those hours, 50 in total, have to be in other levels other than whatever their primary. So they get an internship as a high school counselor. They still have to spend a total of 50 hours over the course of those 2 semesters experiencing middle school and elementary school and a career tech school. And you'd be surprised at how many people changed their mind about what they wanted to do because they didn't know anything about high school counseling. So that's what they thought they wanted to do. So there is that kind of a change. And also, especially people who come to us from other walks of life, not in education, they only really know what a school counselor is based on what kind of an experience they had when they were in school. And it has changed significantly in the past, well, in the century, over the course of the past 25 years. It really has evolved. So one of the good strong points, I think, in our program is that we have some type of field experience in almost every course. There are a couple of courses that prepare people for those experiences. But in many of the initial courses, there is an interview with a school counselor on a topic that is related to the course content. And those people, and we make sure that people go to some urban schools and suburban schools or a rural school, that they do a variety of levels. So they get to talk to counselors about what they do in different circumstances. So they get a better understanding in that way as well. And then of course in their internship, they actually have an application to apply in an authentic setting. They can apply what they've learned. And so although they mostly become school counselors, they may not become the kind of school counselor they thought they were going to be.
True. Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. And actually that Kevin and Kat, this actually you answered part of question 2 for us, which was, how much field work and hands-on experience is built into each of your different programs. And as I think very applicable to school counseling and higher education, where students may not have that education background, but gaining that experience and different settings is extremely important and helpful. So you've both actually kind of answered this question for us too. I'm going to turn it over to Nuria and Beverly and Marcy if you want to take it from there. Can you explain some of the field work and hands-on experiences that are built right into the program that enrich that educational experience for students who have had experiences in the classroom but are looking for more expertise?
I can get started if you like. As I mentioned before, within urban teaching, we work with community partners. One of them that been collaborating is PBS Media. So students in the program actually, develop educational materials to support the PBS programming, particularly oriented to or through the kind of ESL or ESOL lens. So, they really get to work with colleagues at PBS and also produce work that has a public dimension. So their work gets published within the PBS media website. So that consists of, a variety of projects like lesson plans, educational resources, whether it's for families, parents, or for other peer teachers. We've also, collaborated with other community partners to do some assessment of their programming around ESL and do some community mapping. So the Community Libraries of Providence as being also like a good partner. So I think that the field work within urban teaching really is connected to what's happening in communities, mostly within Providence, Central Falls, Pawtucket, and then looking at kind of the macro lens of how schools across the country also are working with multilingual learners and their families and in implementing models of culturally responsive teaching that are affirming the identities of all learners and honoring the histories and narratives of all in the classroom.
Great, thank you, Nuria.
Well, in literacy, the fieldwork starts off very early in the program with some simple classroom observations, student observation, teacher observation, and progresses to case studies at different grade levels, primary grade, intermediate grade, and middle secondary grades. And those case study experiences are 8 to 10 hours a semester built into the course. So I refer to them as course embedded field work. So for the first hour of class, we go as a class to a partnership school and work with an after school program with students who can use some support in reading and writing development. And we progress to the clinical experiences at the end of the program where the entire course is field work. It takes place in a school, especially with the primary grade clinic, the whole 3 hours a day for 4 days a week in the summer, our students are working with children at the primary grade level and teaching them phonics, decoding, how to read, comprehension, some fluency. So we work from very simple short-term kind of field experiences to a more long-term internship experiences. The reading program, since candidates would follow the same courses as in the literacy program, except for the grade level focus that each candidate selects, those whatever field experiences go along with that selected grade level would be the same as for the literacy program. So these experiences are all supervised by currently practicing reading specialists and done during the time of the course. Marcy?
So the hands-on application in the Master's in Special Ed program is all focused on the Wilson program. So the Wilson language program is I wouldn't say scripted, but it's a pretty directed program for severely disabled readers. So 3 of the courses and 1 of the 1 credit workshops is taught by a Wilson language trainer. And it consists of the materials and the knowledge that you need to tutor a student. So one of the courses is the fieldwork. And you have to find yourself a student to tutor who can be an adult. It can be anyone who's severely dyslexic. And you have to make sure, I mean, we help people find folks to tutor, but you have to make sure that they fall within a certain criteria so that they're students that haven't met with much success in the classroom so far. And then you have to get them to a certain level within the Wilson program. So it's a year-long commitment, really. Most of the students work with the student that they're tutoring 2 or 3 times a week from September to June.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And you know, I think one of the biggest questions too, our next question is really understanding for students, what are some of the benefits if they do start a graduate program immediately after graduation? Beverly, if you'd like to explain the 4+1 program with literacy, but then Marcy, I think it would be helpful to understand for some of those special ed students how this could be a beneficial program as well.
Sure. Well, 4+1 just simply means 4 years of undergraduate work and 1 year of graduate work. So for students who are education majors, some of them in their senior year actually begin taking 1 or 2 courses in the graduate program, depending on the extent of their undergraduate studies that are remaining. The benefit is that, well, I always find that students who are coming into graduate school right out of undergraduate work are all conditioned to do the work. They are used to having a school schedule and they focus. And I mean, I think it's just such an advantage to complete the program immediately after. But also, they all report that they become more confident teachers and more capable teachers. So that's the benefit. They are very marketable. They are pretty good at taking interviews at that point, and they all get jobs as classroom teachers. I would say all. I don't know of anybody who hasn't gotten a job with a master's degree and 4 years of undergraduate work. So I think the benefits are great.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, the Master's in Special Ed is also a 1-year program. You can't start it while you're an undergrad, but it goes from July to July 1st. And the skills, the knowledge that's gained is super useful in any teaching position. So I think anyone who's planning to work with kids and be in a school will definitely encounter someone struggling to read at some point, and we'll know what to do. So starting immediately after graduation is fine. Also start to be an experienced teacher and come back for that additional knowledge.
Absolutely. Nuria, Pat, or Kevin, do you have anything to add about your programs in terms of where you may see students begin the program after their undergrad and any benefits that they have noted?
I'll say probably half of our students are coming right from undergrad. And I'll echo Beverly. I think there's just it's just really smooth. You're already in the habit of doing schoolwork, so you know how to write papers. You just wrote one 3 months ago, so here we go again. So I think there's that benefit. I think our students do go into their professions with a master's degree, which I think is beneficial, and maybe you don't necessarily um, see that in other areas. And I also think there's some nice benefit to having people come right in because they know school. It's a master's degree in higher education. We're studying colleges and universities historically and what's currently happening in them. So these are students who come right in from undergrad certainly have their hand on the pulse of what's going on in higher education, which we can build on, which is really nice.
I can say for school counseling, I have across the board, we have a lot of people who come right from undergrad into the program. And for all the reasons that both Beverly and Kevin have mentioned, they have no problem adjusting. But we also have people who are in another career and decide to change careers. And so they are starting from scratch. They sometimes come in with some trepidation because they hadn't been in school for a while. But it's kind of like riding a bike, they really pick it up without a problem. So I can say that there is a benefit, I guess, if you are in undergrad now, that it's easy to just adapt to a graduate program. But if you are not and you want to, spend some time in a career and then move on, it's easily adaptable.
Great. And we are trying to be mindful of time. So I think the final question we'll actually skip ahead to question 5. What kinds of what kinds of connections have students been able to make with faculty, and how has this supported a student's career aspect? So we often talk about the network available at PC, but specifically within some of our different education programs. Obviously, we have different practitioners, folks that are within the field, and what are you hearing from your students in terms of the connections they're making, and their sense of network when they are part of the program and finishing the program?
I can start.
Sure.
Most of my faculty is comprised of either current or retired school counselors. So one of the bits of feedback that I get when students are graduating and doing a final presentation and kind of exit interview, if you will, to a person, they will say, I loved every single one of my professors. I learned so much from them. And I love the anecdotes and the connections that I got to the profession. But in addition to that, several of my, especially the current school counselors, are active in the Rhode Island School Counselor Association, which is the state branch of our national association. And they engage the students in getting involved in being ambassadors to the counseling conference that they hold in the fall, and to doing other kinds of networking things, which gets them out into the community of school counselors, and they get to know so many of them. And often those kinds of relationships develop into their internship site and ultimately their job. So that there are really good connections that happen.
Absolutely. Great.
Similarly, in literacy, the lots of the faculty are practicing reading specialists in public schools. And they're the instructors of the courses, so they get to know the students very well. I've had at least 1 or 2 instances where a candidate was hired by in a school where she did an internship, and with the instructor who was the reading specialist, who was also on the committee, the search committee, the hiring committee, hired her. This happened at least twice. But they certainly make good connections learning alongside a reading specialist. They ask for recommendation letters because many of them go out of state when they are looking for a job because they live out of state, but they take recommendation letters with them from our faculty, which helps a lot in getting them a position. And I've had lots of times when a call comes in for a school that currently needs a reading specialist, even if our students are not finished. I had one year where two students shared an open position, 2.5 days a week, because the school needed someone and then called to say, do you have anyone that we could interview, that we could talk to? So there are lots of opportunities that come along when you're working with practitioners, especially.
Absolutely. Great. Any other thoughts from folks?
I'll just go. I'll just say all the same happens within the higher education ecosystem out there. I get a lot of people applying to the program with letters of recommendation from people who graduated from the program. So that's always nice that they speak highly of the program and people want to follow suit. I also have, I get a whole bunch of emails every year from people looking to fill positions who graduated from the program. And I think our faculty are they really care about our graduates, and certainly while they're going through it, while they're students, but then after they graduate, they really want to, make them colleagues with them and work. So they do everything possible to help make that happen.
Yeah, I echo what has been said. The faculty, the core faculty in urban teaching, it's a blend of Providence College faculty and also folks who work both in nonprofit organizations and schools. We have Nuestro Mundo, the dual immersion bilingual school in Providence. Our principal is one of our core faculty, and same with the director of urban trends and in Providence and after school programs. So I think that those connections are really important for students in the program, because they also see that education playing beyond what is the limits of the classroom and into the community.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And certainly with that as well, we wanted to make sure we tapped on some important areas about the application process and tips for different students who are applying. But with that, we just want to thank you all for sharing some of those insights into the program. One of the questions that we did receive from a student was about different tracks for the programs and part-time versus full-time, and how you are seeing students handle coursework if they start in a particular time of year. For some of your programs, Beverly and Marcy, I know that summer is a good time to, that is the start of those programs or your programs. So there are students who have questions about, timing of when is appropriate and if there are differences in some of your programs.
Well, for higher education, it's generally a 2-year degree with a traditional September start, but it doesn't have to. We have people start in the summer if they're admitted early in the spring. And it's really just a matter of working with me to figure out your schedule and what your life is looking like. If you're full-time, you're definitely 2 years. If you're part-time, it could be a little bit longer. The college gives you up to 5 years to finish it. But you get a lot of advising along the way. I'm your primary advisor, so I know that's true. So I will always be following you and making sure you're on track. And if you don't take a class, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, what are you doing? What's the plan? And trying to shepherd you through the program. So I think a September is the traditional start for full-time students, but earlier is certainly possible based on how many courses we are offering in the summer, which could be at a minimum probably 3, maximum 4.
For the 4+1 program, the students start in summer too. So they graduate in May, they have a month and a half off, and they start in July with 2 courses and then go into the fall semester, the spring semester, and one more summer. So that schedule is pretty fixed. They need to, if they're completing it in 1 year, they need to follow that routine. So they go through together. It's like a cohort. They take the same courses together. They become great friends. They learn to work together really well. It's a great model.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on particular times where you're seeing students or things to be aware of with school schedules?
In urban teaching, there's quite a lot of flexibility, mostly folks starting in the fall, and they have the possibility of completing it in 1 year, including the following summer. But as Kevin mentioned, the advising, it's very intentional. So we do, follow students and support them, the best to our ability so they can kind of take the courses that they need and also guided in the electives within the program.
Great, thank you. Again, that was a question that had been submitted from folks attending the session, so wanted to make sure that that was asked. Now, finally, moving on to tips for applying and going forward with information about these different programs. Obviously, gathering information is a major part of this, and I feel like I've been talking for quite some time, so I will turn it over to Daniela for the beginning of this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. So just in the interest of time, I might go through this kind of fast because there's also a little portion at the end where I walk you through all the website resources. So I might just jump back and forth a little bit, but obviously our web pages are filled with a lot of information, and a lot of the things you heard today can actually be found on our web pages. And so that's just something as you start to think about which program you're interested in, what entry term you're applying for, this can all be found on the website. Transcripts, so it's a really good rule of thumb to request transcripts early. One thing is if you're a Providence College student currently, it's actually easier for you because you can select in the application that you would like to give us access to view your undergraduate transcript. So it's easier that way. But if you're not an undergraduate Providence College student, then it's a really good idea, especially if you're interested in like the November 1 deadline, for example, to go ahead and request your transcript because sometimes they do take a little while. And that can all be done within the application portal, but it is really important that you kind of start the process early. One thing we wanted to mention as well is graduate assistantship positions. Those are the primary form of institutional financial aid at Providence College for graduate students. One important note that's new is that you really should have submitted a completed application by February 15th in order to be considered for a graduate assistantships and in order to start applying for graduate assistantships. So, it's really a good idea to do these applications earlier on, and that way you get your decision early, you know if you've actually been accepted into a program, and then you can start applying to graduate assistantships. So, February 15th is absolutely the last day, but if you can get it in even earlier, that means you also get your decision earlier. So all of this is really important, and it helps you to be able to be in the best position possible to be eligible for a graduate assistantship.
And we put this note about February 15th because we were finding that a lot of students were applying very late in the process after the suggested application deadlines for many of our programs, and they were actually not able to then apply for a different graduate assistantship. So as a general rule of thumb, if a student is looking at a summer or fall entry term, we do recommend that they consider again applying and submitting that completed application by February 15. And again, this is just to ensure that those students who are looking for full-time programs and an assistantship are able to have access to as many assistantship opportunities as possible. But with recommendation letters, certainly when folks are filling out the application, they will see the place to indicate different recommenders within that application. So all of our programs require at least 2 letters of recommendation within that as you are filling out the application. You'll see the chance to indicate that recommender. It's a simple contact information detail that you will add to the application. Make sure you are connecting with that recommender so they're aware that you are requesting a letter from them. For many of our programs, there is actually a form that folks will fill out, the recommender will fill out, and then they are also able to attach a letter to a secure link that is sent to them. And this is the only way that we will be able to accept those recommendation letters. They should be coming through your SLATE application. So through the application that you're filling out within our admission process. We have had sometimes where students have sent along a letter from a faculty member. It really needs to come through this secure link because it does need to come directly from the faculty member. Just like with transcripts, they need to come from the institutions. Recommendation letters need to come directly from faculty members or recommenders that the student has selected. We always note that if a student is a student who does not have a lot of professional experience, it's really important that we have those 2 letters coming from faculty members. But you will see there are different opportunities to include additional letters, or if you have questions about who would be an appropriate person, by all means, feel free to connect with our office.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to scan this really quick, this will just take you to our graduate school application guide. This is a guide that will help you not only for a Providence College application, but in general, if you're applying to graduate school. It's just a nice thing to have. So you can grab it here. It's also on our website. So let me just show you guys a few things here really quickly. Just kind of quickly walk through. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is our graduate.providence.edu webpage, and this is where you can look through all of our graduate programs. Specifically, again, if you want that application guide, you can get it right here. So if you didn't get a chance to scan that QR code, it's still there for you. So if you click on education here, little blurb about our education programs, and then you click explore programs. So if there was something that you're still wondering about, if you want to explore some of our other like upcoming info sessions, or if you're specifically interested in reading more about our programs, or if you want to hear about like different pathways or stories or anything like that, this can all be found here. One thing too that I just really quickly wanted to point out was this admission requirements button. All of these buttons up here are to do with graduate programs. So this is really helpful up here. So whether you're interested in cost and aid, so financial aid, graduate assistantships, tuition costs, all that stuff is here. And then if you go to admission requirements, this is where you can specifically compare, contrast what is needed for each program, what is needed for, your statement of purpose that you're going to have as part of your application, and like all of, what kind of recommendations you need. All of that information is here, and then you can just jump back to the graduate programs homepage. So just wanted to show you guys where all this is really quickly. Hopefully it helps.
Absolutely. And we know many of you are considering different programs, but lots of times we will have students who will begin an application and they'll actually begin a couple of different applications just to review different pieces of information about the different programs. So we always like to throw in an overview of website resources just in case you're wondering where to find these different snippets of information and then also how to access again, all of the contact information for all of our program directors and also different upcoming events that we have available. So with that, we thank you all for joining. Thank you to all our panelists for their time this evening. I do apologize. My camera continues not to work this evening, and I thank you for bearing with me. But we really appreciate the time everyone spent this afternoon and hope this was a productive conversation for all the folks considering different programs.
Good luck, everyone. Hope to see some of you.
Thank you.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Were there any further questions that folks had? Hang on. Giovanna, could we help you with anything?
Yes. I don't know if you guys
Sure.
hear me, but I was
Yes.
wondering because I was told that if we were to attend this seminar, that the application fees would be waived for
Yes.
those who then go ahead and apply for the programs. So is that still like amicable? Is that still correct?
Yes, that is. You will receive an application fee waiver. If for whatever reason you are not, and please let us know, but you should be receiving that application fee waiver for this session.
Awesome. And I had another question. I know
Sure.
for me, I was divvied between two programs, either the school counseling or the special education. But based on talks from the director of that program, it seems like it was more for a dyslexia credential, more of that reading aspect rather than, special education curriculum in that in itself. Would I be correct to say that it's more of a reading dyslexia type of program rather than, just straight up special education curriculum?
Yes, you would be fair in assessing it that way. With the program that is offered at PC, and it does have a very specific dyslexia credential. And I don't know what's your undergrad right now?
So I have an undergrad from Southern New Hampshire University as a history major. So I got my undergrad as a history major.
Okay, so with that, with the special education program that we offer, it would not offer you a pathway to certification in special education. So if that's something that you're looking for, that would not be the program that you would want to do. You'd want to have something that specifically offers a certification pathway for special education.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was stuck between either or
yeah,
program. So I'm glad I came to this because now I understand more.
yeah.
And I know for the application, because I'm technically enrolled right now in the TCP program. So if I was to apply for, granted it's a certificate and I apply for a master's degree program, would
Mhm.
essentially all that information I put in for the TCP carry over, or would I still need to input all that information again?
You would, so when you start, do need to fill out an application. When you start filling it out, you'll notice some of the personal information carries over, but most of the information you'll need to fill out, I think you said school counseling, correct, is what you're,
Yeah.
planning to apply to. Yeah, so with that, you'd want to make sure you filled out information that's specific to school counseling. My guess is too, I don't believe you could reuse some of your recommendation letters. Actually, you know what? I'm thinking about the recommendation forms that are required for school counseling, and you definitely would want new recommenders. Maybe even asking the same person, but asking them to submit a new recommendation. That would be a necessary component because school counseling does ask some different types of questions, and they actually have like a little questionnaire form that folks need to fill out, and then they can submit a letter separately if necessary. But you would want to make sure that you connect with new recommenders or the same recommenders, but know that they have to fill out a new form.
Because I know when looking at the admission requirements, I know some of them did ask, like, oh, if you're compared to educator slash non-educator.
Mhm.
Yes, right. In terms of my profession right now, I'm a TA, but I'm technically not considered a quote unquote teacher. And I remember emailing Patricia about this, but she also mentioned that it was okay for me to do like one of the teachers that I work with, and
Yeah.
maybe a counselor from my undergrad, like where I went to school and kind of advocating. Is those two fine for
Yeah,
those?
those would be fine. Totally
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I'm technically quote unquote not an educator, but I mean I kind of am, but I'm kind of not. But
Yeah,
I
that would be
I
totally fine.
I'm more on like stickler for words and wording, so I
Mhm.
just wanted to make sure that that would be all set.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so one of the things just to be aware, um, and again, I know you were considering uh, special ed versus school counseling. Um, I guess one of the questions I have for you, what attracted you to either? Like, and the differences between the two. Um, I guess what was the initial attraction with the special ed program?
Great question. So for me right now, I work as a TA. I work for the North Kingstown School District. I work actually at the high school. So I work with the Rise and Sail program. So essentially working with the students that are 9 through 12, but also those who have graduated, helping them in terms of assisted services, whether that looks like getting jobs, maybe getting housing, kind of supporting them in those aspects. So for
Okay.
me, I've always loved doing that and enjoying, the students and the kids that I work with. So that's kind
Yeah.
of leaned me to that special education aspect, but also in terms of the school counseling aspect, is I myself, I've been to school, I've been through high school. I often found that especially with me in terms of my background, it didn't feel as if there was those who understood me in terms of my cultural background. So for
Hmm.
me, wanting to get into the field was to essentially be that way for students to be able to support those who are like myself and not, just
Yeah.
kind of supporting them in terms of what their education looks like, what does that look like in school and out of school, and being well versed in supporting them in those aspects. So yeah, I was kind of leaning towards both, but now that I know more about, you know, with your guys' school and PC, with the special education, with the dyslexia credential is, I'm kind of leaning more towards that school counseling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the roles that you were just describing, in terms of your work with students, that seems like it's really in line with a lot of work that a school counselor would do.
Yeah, because I have done a lot of, TAs. I have been with other school districts. I have worked for the state in terms of a youth advocate support. So I would work with students that, were in DCYF care, those, across the state, kind of being like what I would consider a big brother, big sister type of thing, where you kind of
Yeah.
support them, get them into projects. at-risk youth, kind of getting them into more positive communities and aspects and projects rather than, what it is that they're used to. So I kind of have that history in that background. So for me, I've always kind of enjoyed that. It's just with my life and what's going on, especially with me as a mom and having a young child, it's fortunately the hours and the work hours were not feasible for me. So hence why I went back to teaching in schools, because it's the hours kind of work better for where I'm at in my life right now.
Yeah, definitely. No, well, we're glad you found it helpful.
Yes, this I was able to kind of figure out which one I'm leaning more towards. So thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate you guys answering my question.
Yeah, of course, no problem. The other thing I was gonna say was too, is that I think counseling will offer you just like a little bit more flexibility, especially I think if you're saying you have a family, your mom, like I think you're probably gonna get where I think with M.Ed and special ed, I think some of the classes very much are kind of set where I think with counseling, you'll have a little bit more flexibility with that. So
yeah, I think that's for me was the most important, because I do love what it is that I do, but I have to understand that I also have a home life and I have my things kind of going on. So I like an equal work life balance. I don't like one to outweigh another. I kind of like them to be equal. So
yeah,
it's kind of why my thought process too was choosing either one. But yes, it seems like I'm going for the school counseling one. So
awesome. All righty. Thank you so much.
Please, again, I really appreciate your guys's webinar. It was very informative. Thank you again so much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Giovanna.
You guys have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah. I can't believe my camera didn't work.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good. We could hear you very well, so
Good. I realized I was like, oh my God, I just kept talking. And
no, you're good. You're good. No,
I think it was because I
totally
couldn't see
fine.
myself. I was just like, fill the blank.
Yeah, no, I know. Same with me. Like I had my thing closed so that I could see the slides, but yeah. Yeah, I wish more people came. I think there were only like 4 that actually came, right?
I thought it was higher than that.
Or did maybe someone jumped off early. I had no idea who came in because I was doing the slides.
Let me look at Slate. I don't know how I don't know what the program directors thought.
Yeah. I thought it was actually kind of nice. Like I thought it was almost more of like a conversation, but
I did too. I thought it was helpful. And I think it's helpful for students to understand some of the differences between the programs, because
yeah.
otherwise they just feel like they're in a vacuum.
Right. Oh, okay. No, actually 8 attended, so it's not bad.
Okay, that's half.
Yeah. Some of them must have jumped off before I noticed. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
curious
see
to
yeah, I'm curious to know what everyone's thoughts are. I noticed Jackie was on there. I was
She
like,
did. She had asked me, 'cause she said, I just want to learn more about their programs. Like, and I had told her about these different events, and she asked me, she was like, could you send me a link? And she said, I'll be doing the shelter in place, so I'll be under my desk. I don't want to say anything. But she said it's more for me to understand the different programs. And I said, yep, absolutely. And I said, this is what we're doing. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what her feedback is just on engagement with some of the program directors. And I feel like, again, maybe we were way too general in some ways, but I think this was a little bit more accessible to students.
yeah, no, I thought it was more accessible and it was like I think this was way better than kind of what we did before, which maybe Jackie like kind of needs that context of like you know, Beverly used to have this slide where she would just go through the
Oh my
plan of
God.
study. And it was like, here's what you take in the fall, here's what you take in the spring. And then she would read through like and it was just, I would just sat there and like, oh my God, I can't, this is not information that they need at this moment. They need like big picture, they need to connect, they need to see like why Providence College, like who are the faculty, what are the networking opportunities, like this, like those little details are important, but I think it's like we didn't need to get into all that in the info sessions. And
Nope.
I think Diane did the same thing where she would just kind of read off these really long slides and it was kind of boilerplate. And so, yeah, hopefully this felt like a little bit more conversational.
Inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
I hope so too. Like, I think one of the other things too is, well, Pat and Kevin did a great job explaining their programs because
Yep.
there's something tangible to explain.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
I think this, like, I don't know, I still struggle with, you know, the recording ended, right? No.
Yeah, and maybe it didn't, but we can just cut this out.
Yeah. So I think it's important to talk about tangibles, and
Yeah.
that's what I think was missing in a lot of our sessions. And that's what I think students need, is to understand, okay, what is it that I want to be able to do with this? And because I think there are a lot of students who are interested, but that's why we see so many applications, across different programs, because they're really unsure how these are connected and how they differ. So,
Yeah, and just to hear it in their own words, like to hear the
right.
program directors in their own words talk about what do you get from this? Where do my students go? Where do I see them going? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really important because we can talk generally about all this, but I think having them explain it is a lot more and like useful to everyone. And I think I would rather spend time on that versus them talking about like, oh, which classes do you take at which time? And like,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the feedback is, but
Yeah. So, all right. Perfect.
I'll conclude the event.
Oh, I think I just did.
Oh,
I
perfect.
yeah,
Okay.
so you're good. But
All righty.
awesome. Have
See
a
you
good
tomorrow.
night. All right. Bye.